Good evening, everyone. I'm Lynne Kochmanski, President of the League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County. Thank you for coming to the League of Women Voters Town Hall this evening. Today's Town Hall will focus on our new voting rights under Proposal 2, passed in November of 2022. We will save time at the end of the presentation for questions, so feel free to put these in the chat during the Town Hall, and we will address them at the end. It's easier to see the questions if you enter them in all caps. The League of Women Voters of Washtenaw County's mission is to defend democracy and empower voters. We are a nonpartisan political organization. We do not support or oppose candidates or parties. The Washtenaw County League is very active with voter registration, voter education through candidate forums and presentations, and Vote 411, our online election information site. We also have a robust advocacy committee which studies issues and helps inform the public about topics that the League has positions on. In addition, we are observers of government, including public accuracy testing of election tabulators, government meetings, and more recently, the Board of Canvassers certification process. Today's presentation will be made by myself and Vice President Catherine Murau. So what is Prop 2? Proposal 2 of 2022, also known as Prop 2, was a proposal on the November 2022 general election ballot to amend the Michigan State Constitution to make our elections even more accessible and secure. Prop 2 passed with over 60% of the vote. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, we now have many new and improved voting rights. These include the right to vote early in every statewide and federal election, the right to sign up to become a permanent mail voter, the right to prepaid return postage on absentee ballots and applications, and the right to an enhanced tracking system for absentee ballots and applications, just to name a few. The goal of today's town hall is to provide you with the information you need to understand your new rights, how you can exercise them, and what, if anything, you can do to make sure that your new rights are implemented successfully. The fundamental right to vote. Thanks to Prop 2, the Michigan Constitution now guarantees every voter the fundamental right to vote. What does the right protect? The fundamental right to vote includes, but is not limited to, the right, once registered, to vote a secret ballot in all elections. What does the right prohibit? This right also prohibits any person or legal entity, for example, a business or a state agency, from interfering with or unreasonably burdening the fundamental right to vote, whether by act of law, harassment, threats, or intimidation. How can I enforce my right? Any Michigander can bring a lawsuit to enforce this right if it is violated. Certification of results. The next right we will discuss involves the certification of election results. The Board of State Canvassers is responsible for certifying that the results of every statewide and federal election are accurate. How is the outcome of an election determined? Prop 2 clarifies that the duty of county and state canvassers is ministerial, clerical, and non-discretionary. They must certify the election results based solely on the votes cast by eligible voters in that election. The certified results are final, subject only to a recount or court order. If the results for any office show a tie between two or more candidates, the canvassers have a duty to resolve the tie based on a predetermined set of rules. Early voting. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, Michiganders now have the right to engage in true early voting, that is, to cast their ballot in person before the election, just like they would on election day. Someone might ask, I can already vote early in person at my clerk's office. How is this different? Before the passage of Prop 2, the only way to vote in person before Election Day was by absentee ballot at your city or township clerk's office. Now, voters can vote early at a designated early voting site by completing a regular ballot and inserting that ballot directly into the tabulator. Another question someone might ask, if I receive an absentee ballot, can I take it to early voting and cast my ballot into the tabulator? Voters can take their absentee ballots to an early voting site and put them into the tabulator. When will early voting occur? Every city and township must offer early voting in every statewide and federal election. Although cities and townships are not required to offer early voting in non-statewide or non-federal elections, they may choose to do so. When will early voting occur? Early voting sites must be open for 9 consecutive days, beginning on the second Saturday before the election and ending on the Sunday before the election. During this 9-day period, early voting sites must be open for 8 hours each day. The 8 hours can be offered at any time of the day, consecutively or non-consecutively. Can communities offer early voting when it is not required by the Constitution? Yes. Cities and townships have the flexibility to offer early voting in non-statewide and non-federal elections for more than 9 days and for more than 8 hours per day during the constitutionally required 9-day period. The earliest that a city or township can start offering early voting is 29 days before Election Day. Where will early voting occur? Early voting will take place at an early voting site, or EVS. Early voting sites are subject to most of the same requirements as Election Day polling places. For example, all polling places must be fully accessible, must allow members of the public to observe, and must maintain all voted ballots in sealed containers at the end of the day. However, they may serve voters for more than one city or township and more voters than an Election Day polling location. Someone might ask, how will I know where my EVS is located? You can find the location of your early voting site on Michigan's Voter Information Center at mi.gov/vote at least 60 days before the election. You can also contact your city or township clerk or the Nonpartisan Election Protection Hotline, which is 866-OUR-VOTE. Can communities work together to offer early voting? Absolutely. Cities and townships will have the option to offer early voting either on their own as a single municipality, with other cities and townships within their county, or with the county. We all recognize that early voting is a significant undertaking for city and township clerks. It will require more time, money, and resources. To reduce this burden, we strongly encourage city and township clerks to work together with other municipalities or with their county to offer early voting. Early voting is a great opportunity for Michiganders to vote at a time that's convenient for their busy schedules. It also allows voters to know right then and there that their vote has been counted. To make sure that cities and townships continue to establish and staff convenient early voting sites, and that the legislature continues to fund early voting, we need to take advantage of this right. A question might be, how will early voting work if my city and township works together with another municipality or with the county to offer early voting? If your city or township clerk chooses to work together with another municipality or with the county to offer early voting, your city or township clerk will collaborate with the other clerks to plan, staff, fund, and administer early voting. Early voting sites will be set up in locations that are accessible to the residents of all municipalities within the agreement. This means your EVS may be located outside of your city or township. Another question might be, what will prevent voters from voting both early in person and by absentee ballot? The Secretary of State's office is developing technology for early voting poll books to be used at early voting sites, which will include voting history. The early voting poll book is required to be updated each day to reflect absentee ballots received and ballots cast in early voting sites since the last update. I'm going to turn it over now to Catherine, our Vice President. She will talk about the permanent absentee ballot list and voter ID changes. Catherine?
Thank you, Lynn. Another way that Prop 2 made voting more convenient for Michiganders is by providing the right to sign up to receive an absentee ballot rather than just an application before each election. Did you already sign up to receive a ballot before every election? No. Previously, voters could sign up to receive an absentee ballot application before every election. They would still need to complete and submit the application each time to receive an absentee ballot. Now, voters have the right to submit a single application to receive an absentee ballot before each election, which eliminates the need to submit an absentee ballot application each time. How do I sign up? For now, to sign up for the permanent mail ballot list, voters can check the box on their regular absentee ballot application, stating that they'd like to receive a ballot before every election. We understand that the Bureau of Elections is working on additional ways that voters can sign up for the permanent mail ballot list. We'll provide additional information as soon as we have it. What happens if I move? If you sign up to join the permanent mail ballot list and then you move within the state of Michigan, you will remain on the list as long as you update your voter registration address. If you move outside of Michigan and surrender your Michigan driver's license, you will be removed from the list since you will no longer be eligible to vote in the state. And someone might ask, do I have to update my voter registration address if I move within the same city or township? And the answer is yes. If you move within the same city or township, you must update your voter registration address to ensure your ballot is sent to the correct address. Another question might be, how do I update my voter registration address? And if it's prior to the 14th day before an election, you can update your voter registration address by completing a new voter registration application in person at an SOS branch office, your city, township, or county clerk's office, or any state agency that provides public assistance or services to people with disabilities by mailing a completed voter registration application postmarked by the 15th day before the election or online. Beginning the 14th day before an election, you must update your registration at your city or township clerk's office with proof of residency. More information is available at michiganvoting.org. What if I need my ballot sent somewhere other than my home address? If you will be away from your home during the election season, for example, you're on vacation or you're attending school, you can have your ballot sent to a different address. Once I sign up, will I always be on the list? You will remain on the list unless one of 5 things occur. You submit a signed request to your city or township clerk to be removed from the list. You move outside of Michigan. You move within Michigan without updating your voter registration address. You are no longer eligible to vote. For example, if you are serving a sentence in jail or prison, or you do not vote for 6 consecutive years. A question might be, what happens if someone who is on the list passes away? Will they be removed? Yes, the voter would be removed from the list because they would no longer be eligible to vote. And important information is when someone dies, their death record information is sent to the Social Security Administration, SSA, and added to the Master Death Index. Michigan Department of State receives this information from SSA. On a weekly basis, the Bureau of Elections cancels the voter registrations of all registered voters who appear on the Master Death Index report. This also removes them from the permanent absentee voter list. The Michigan Department of State also receives information from the Electronic Registration Information Center, known as ERIC, about Michigan voters who have passed away. Is the list secure? Yes. In order to join the list, clerks must confirm the voter's identity by comparing the voter's signature on their application to the voter's signature in their voter file. If you regularly vote from home, be sure to sign up for the permanent mail ballot list the next time you request an absentee ballot. Also, please encourage members of your community to sign up for the list by spreading the word that it is convenient, safe, and secure. And a common question might be, I've heard concerns that this list makes it easier for voters to commit fraud if ballots are sent to old addresses or to voters on the list who are no longer eligible or don't intend to vote in that election. Is this true? No. First of all, as explained above, voters will be removed from the list when they move in state without updating their address or when they move out of state. This helps ensure that ballots will not be sent to old addresses. And even if a ballot were to be sent to an old address, there are security measures built into our absentee ballot system to verify the identity of the person returning every ballot. An absentee ballot will not be counted unless the signature on the absentee ballot envelope matches the signature for the voter in the voter file. Next up is voter ID. Michigan has had the same voter ID law since 1996. Prop 2 essentially wrote this existing voter ID law into the Constitution, ensuring that all eligible voters could cast a ballot, regardless of whether they had a certain type of photo ID. Do I need a photo ID to vote? You do not need a photo ID to vote in Michigan. You will be asked to provide a photo ID when you arrive to vote, either at your clerk's office by absentee ballot, at an early voting site, or at your polling location on election day. If you have an acceptable photo ID with you, you must show it when asked. What if I don't have an ID? But if you do not have an acceptable photo ID or do not have an acceptable photo ID with you at the time you arrive to vote, you can sign a simple form called the Affidavit of Voter Not in Possession of Picture Identification and vote a regular ballot. Is my ID the right kind of ID? Acceptable photo IDs include an expired or current Michigan driver's license or state ID. This is the only type of ID that may be expired. All others must be current. A driver's license or ID from any other state. A U.S. passport or federal government issued ID. A local government issued ID. A military photo ID. A tribal photo ID. Or a student photo ID issued by an educational institution. There are many reasons a voter may be without an acceptable photo ID when they go to vote. They cannot afford it. They do not have access to transportation to get an ID. They left their ID at home, or they simply lost it. These voters should not be deterred from exercising their fundamental right to vote. So we encourage you to remind your friends, family, and neighbors that photo ID is not required to vote in Michigan. Now back to Lynne to talk about absentee voting improvement and drop boxes.
Thank you, Catherine. Absentee voting improvements. The passage of Prop 2 made several improvements to the absentee voting experience. Do I still have to provide postage for my absentee ballot and application? The first change concerns postage for absentee ballots and applications. It's very straightforward. The state must now provide funding for return postage on all absentee ballot applications and ballots. No more searching for or paying for stamps. Will I be notified of any issues with my absentee ballot or application? Voters now also have the right to be notified by their clerk of any issues with their absentee ballot application or ballot, such as forgetting to sign the outside of their absentee ballot envelope, and instructions on how to fix those issues. If you are notified of an issue with your ballot or application, you must be given an equitable opportunity to correct it. A uniform statewide process for notifying voters of these issues will not be in place until spring of 2024. Someone might ask, what's an official signature? The answer is your official signature is the signature you used on your voter registration application. Can I track the status of my absentee ballot and application online? Relatedly, voters now have the right to a new and improved state-funded online ballot tracking system. What has changed? Thanks to Prop 2, voters will now be able to track their absentee ballots and absentee ballot applications online more closely. For example, voters will be able to see details about any issues with their application or ballot, and will learn how to and by when they must fix them. In addition, voters will have the option to sign up to receive all of this information through text messages or emails. When can I use the enhanced tracking system, and how do I sign up to receive notifications? The Bureau of Elections is working on creating this enhanced tracking system, and we anticipate that voters will be able to use it and to sign up for notifications later this year. In the meantime, voters can still track some information about their absentee ballot application and ballot online at Michigan's Voter Information Center, mi.gov/vote. Once the enhanced tracking system is ready, we encourage everyone to use it and sign up for notifications. Please spread the word in your community about this system and encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to sign up for notifications as well. What is a drop box? Thanks to Prop 2, voters now have the right to at least one secure ballot drop box in their city or township. A ballot drop box is a secure, locked structure that voters may use to return completed absentee ballot applications and voted absentee ballots. Doesn't my community already have a drop box? Many communities already have one or more drop boxes, but all communities must ensure that they're complying with the constitutional amendment by having at least one ballot drop box for every 15,000 registered voters. Communities that already have the constitutionally required number of drop boxes are all set, but can choose to provide more. Where will the drop boxes be located? Clerks must distribute drop boxes equitably throughout the city or township. This means clerks should place drop boxes in areas that are convenient and accessible to voters, including voters with disabilities, such as downtown areas or public spaces. You'll be able to find the location of the drop boxes in your community at Michigan's Voter Information Center, mi.gov/vote. Can I use any drop box in the state? You cannot use any drop box in the state. You may only use the drop boxes that are located in the city or township where you reside. For example, a voter who is registered in Warren may use any drop box in the city of Warren, but may not use a drop box in neighboring Detroit. When can I use the drop box? Drop boxes must be accessible 24/7 during the 40 days prior to an election, up to 8 p.m. on election day. Are drop boxes secure? Yes. They must be securely locked, bolted down, and designed to prevent the removal of absentee ballots and applications, except by authorized election officials. Currently, many, but not all drop boxes are also subject to video surveillance. Starting in January 2026, all drop boxes will be subject to video surveillance. Be sure to uplift the safety and convenience of drop boxes in your community and on social media. When must my absentee ballot be received by my city or township clerk? The last absentee voting improvement concerns military and overseas voters. Before the passage of Prop 2, absentee ballots from all voters had to be received by the voter's city or township clerk by 8 p.m. on election day in order to count. Now, however, absentee ballots from all military and overseas voters are considered timely if they are postmarked by election day and received by the city or township clerk within 6 days of the election. Someone might ask, who counts as a military and overseas voter? The answer is military and overseas includes members of a uniformed service on active duty and their dependents, members of the Merchant Marine or their dependents, National Guardsmen activated on state orders, a civilian voter living overseas. More information, including the definition and rights of military and overseas voters, is available at mi.gov/vote under the Military and Overseas tab. Now, Catherine will talk about election audits and charitable contributions.
Thank you, Lynn. Prop 2 also increased the security of our elections by strengthening the audit process. An election audit is a review of documents, ballots, and procedures used before, during, and after an election. Election audits are important because they ensure the accuracy and integrity of our elections by confirming that election officials followed the proper procedures before, during, and after election day, that election equipment functioned properly and accurately counted on our ballots, and that the correct winner was certified. Statewide election audits are conducted by the Secretary of State, county clerks, and their staff members. These officials must conduct audits after every statewide election. So, how do I know when and where an audit will be conducted in my community? The Secretary of State will post this information on their website, michigan.gov/sos/elections, shortly after the end of the election. Are election audits partisan? No, they are not. Thanks to the passage of Prop 2, the Michigan Constitution now states that no officer or member of the governing body of a national, state, or local political party, and no political party precinct delegate shall have any role in the direction, supervision, or conduct of an election audit. Are election audits secure? Yes. Public officials must maintain the security and custody of all ballots and election materials during an audit. Audits are also transparent. They must be conducted in public based on predetermined public criteria, and all funding must be publicly disclosed. Another way that Prop 2 improved election administration is by requiring the public disclosure of charitable contributions. County, city, and township clerks can fund elections in their communities through state funding, federal funding, and publicly disclosed charitable contributions. Charitable contributions include non-monetary contributions, such as buildings and resources. Although clerks have the option to fund elections through publicly disclosed charitable contributions, they are not required to do so. If clerks choose to accept these donations, Prop 2 now requires that they publicly disclose them. Clerks do not have the discretion to accept any charitable contribution, though. They are prohibited from accepting donations from foreign funds or sources. Here are 4 places online where you will be able to find voter information. mi.gov/vote is the Secretary of State Voter Information Center. It will have the most comprehensive information available for all things voting related. At www.washtenaw.org/2753/information for voters, there is county election information for voters. MichiganVoting.org is another excellent source where much of the information for our presentation has come from. And of course, our league website, LWV-Washtenaw.org, is a place to see what the league is working along with our calendar of events. Questions? We recognize that this was a lot of information to take in. We are happy to take questions from the chat at this time, or to go back over any sections that we covered.
So we have a question. Betty Bishop asks, what happens if I am on the permanent absentee ballot list and then decide I want to vote in person?
I can take that one.
Okay, thank you.
You have a couple options. You can take when you get your ballot, you can take your ballot to your voting site and you can cast your ballot there. You can take your ballot just like you would now and they can spoil it and offer you a new ballot, although that's extra paperwork, but you do not have to, vote the ballot that, you don't have to put it in the mail. You can take it over and vote it in the tabulator during the early voting. Hopefully that answered your question. Is there anything else in the chat?
One just came in. Hang on. Maria asks, how do I sign up to receive text or email notice of any problems with my ballot?
Want me to take that one, Catherine?
Yes, I'm going back to look at the information.
I think the state of Michigan Secretary of State is going to put an online place where you can sign up for text messages and information. Also, your clerk would be another person to check with to see if that's in place yet. Some of this isn't required to be in place until after the end of the calendar year, so it will be in place for next year, but it won't be showing up today. You'll have to probably wait until the end of the year, I would think, for it to show up.
Anything else?
Whoop, one more. What happens to a ballot that is put in a drop box in the wrong area?
That's a good question. We didn't really cover that in the information today. My guess would be they would contact you to let you know that there's a problem with your ballot, but I would want to look into that a little bit further and get an answer to that question, Donna. So if you could put your email in the chat, I can get a definitive answer from the clerks on that one and get back with you.
Okay, Betty has another question. Oh, she has a comment here. I don't know if everyone can see it. In the city of Ann Arbor, one already gets email notifications about absentee ballots if you provide your email in the proper space when returning your ballot. And Sue Smerrick asks, How do we answer questions about why we need early voting since everyone can vote by mail?
Sue, I think
So it's options. If everyone, I mean, so this just gives people options.
the early voting is not voting by mail. It's actually tabulating your ballot like you would on election day. So instead of just having one election day where all votes are tabulated, we now have 9 election days that you can go in and tabulate your ballot. It's not like an absentee ballot right now, which is what we have. Those are not counted until election day. Now we have 9 days ahead of time so people can plan their schedules out if they're going to be away, if they have a work schedule that's going to interfere on election day. It makes, as Catherine said, it gives more access to people and more options for when they can actually vote.
William Gordon asks, has it always been 6 years of non-voting to remove a person from the roll, or did Prop 2 change that?
Not sure of that.
We would have to look to get more clarification on that, William. I can't tell you definitively whether it was 6 years or it was less. It may be that it was optional how often it was for clerks, and this clarifies it. But again, if you would like to put your email in the chat, then I can get some information on that and get it back to you. Good question.
Anything else?
Saying anything?
Okay, well, thank you for joining us this evening. The successful passage and implementation of our new voting rights under Prop 2 would not be possible without engaged and passionate citizens like each and every one of you. If you want more information after today's town hall, either to review or to share with your community, we encourage you to visit michiganvoting.org. We will also be uploading a recording of this town hall to our YouTube channel, which can be accessed from our website at leagueofwomenvoterswashtenaw.org. And thank you for attending and have a very nice evening.
Yes, thank you.